we're going to talk about some of the things that he said towards the end of the halaqah. But Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī radiallahu ta'ala anhu was the person who came from Banu Ghifār. His name was Jundab ibn Junādah, and he is from the scholars of the Sahabah. He's from the early converts, and he comes from a tribe that is known as Banu Ghifār. Banu Ghifār was like the most violent, ruthless type of tribe. They were like a gang, in the sense that Banu Ghifār, they would kill for sport. Other people would kill, or they would raid different caravans because they need to do something. Most people perpetrate evil because of their need to do evil. Very few people do evil just because they are built like that. People usually have two aspects of themselves. They have a good side, they have a bad side. And some people, they're just naturally, from top to bottom, everything about them is evil. Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī radiallahu ta'ala anhu's tribe, Banu Ghifār, was like this. They would kill for sport. Now, amongst the Makkans, amongst Quraysh, and the people of Makkah and the Arabs, there were 4 months that they didn't wage war in. So they waged war throughout the year, but 4 months they called them Ashhur al-Hurum, the sacred months. And in these months, they didn't wage war. Does anyone know what these 4 months are? Ramadan is not one of them. Ramadan had 3 wars that took place. Ramadan had the Battle of Badr, the conquest of Makkah. All of these took place in Ramadan. 3 months are together: Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. Dhul Qa'dah is called Dhul Qa'dah from the Arabic word qa'ada yaq'adu, which means to sit down. When you're praying salah, when you're sitting down, this is called qaida, or they say qa'dah. Dhul Qa'dah is called Dhul Qa'dah is because that's the month they sit down and they're not going to go and advance towards war. The month after is called Dhul Hijjah. Dhu in Arabic means the one. So Dhul Qa'dah, the one where you sit. Then you have Dhul Hijjah. That's the month where you go and do Hajj, and you go for Hajj. Then the month after that is called Muharram, and Muharram means the sacred month. And again, that's the third of 3 of the 4 months they're together: Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram. The 4th sacred month is the month we are in right now, called Rajab. They say Rajab is the month of Allah, Sha'ban is the month of Rasulullah ﷺ, and Ramadan is the month of the Ummah. Rajab is the sacred month. So in this month, 3 are together. You have Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, Muharram, they're together. Then you have Safar, Rabi'ul Awwal, Rabi'ul Akhir, Jumada al-Ula, Jumada al-Akhir. Then Rajab comes. So now Rajab's in the middle of the year when it comes to not fighting. So the Arabs did something very interesting, which was, it was called Nasi. And Nasi is pretty crazy what they did. If they're trying to wage war against someone, and say the month of Rajab is about to come, they will say, well, we're gonna delay Rajab for another 2 months. And right now it's not Rajab, right now it's Ramadan. And they would go back and forth and they would play with the calendar. They played around with it so much because they were barbaric people. They were people who always waged war. They played around with it so much that the entire year got messed up. Now, which month is Muharram? When is Muharram really happening? When is Safar really happening? No one knew. Rasulullah ﷺ then comes and says that now the entire timeline has set itself accordingly and properly. Like now it is set in its right manner, and now we are in the correct order of the months. Banu Ghifār, so in these 4 months you cannot wage war. Now at the same time, in these 4 months, good deeds are maximized and sins are also maximized till now. The only thing that has been remitted is that in these 4 months, war is not prohibited any longer. War is still, you can fight throughout the year. War, what the Quraysh did, where the 4 months where you couldn't wage war, that prohibition no longer lasts. You shouldn't do war in these months, but that prohibition no longer lasts. However, 2 things remain. Good deeds in this month are maximized, and sins in this month are also maximized. The magnitude of good deeds is more valuable in this month, and the magnitude of sins is much higher in this month. The bad you do, the shar you do, the fitna, the evil you do in this month, you get more sin for it. The more good you do, because we are in a Rajab right now. Banu Ghafar was the only tribe that didn't care. So even in prehistoric Arabia, when everyone considered a sacred month to be a sacred month, Banu Ghafar didn't care. And Banu Ghafar would loot for sport. They would loot because they were bored. They would loot and they would raid caravans, but just because they were bored. Abu Dharr al-Ghifārī was from amongst them. And he came to Makkah Mukarramah to go and see Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because he heard about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he arrives in Makkah Mukarramah, but the climate of Makkah is a bit shaky. It's 50-50. Where, no, not 50-50, it's a very aggressive climate, where the different people of Makkah are all battling against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They're persecuting him, they're persecuting the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so on and so forth. Abu Dharr knows he has to lay low. So where is he going to go? Who is he going to talk to? He just observes. He can't go stay with anyone. He can't live with anyone. So he says, I lived by the Haram for over 2 weeks. And I didn't have any money. I couldn't do anything. So all I did was that I would drink Zamzam. I had no other food, nothing else. He said, I came as a stick. But by the end of that time, I became fat. Like I could see weight procure upon me due to the amount of Zamzam that I drank. And that is why Zamzam the Prophet ﷺ says in the hadith of Ibn Majah, Ma'u Zamzama lima shuriba lah, that the Zamzam has unique properties to it. Zamzam grants you what you desire. Zamzam fulfills whatever reason it is drank for, so it has that power to it. Abu Dharr al-Ghifārī radiallahu ta'ala anhu, Jundab ibn Junādah is his name, so he's waiting. What do I do? Finally, Ali radiallahu anhu comes, and Ali radiallahu anhu looks at him, and it's been a while, and he says, what are you doing over here? And some say that it was nighttime. Ali radiallahu anhu came to pray by the Kaaba and sees this guy, poor guy, just this loner is standing by himself. So he goes to him and says, why are you here? What's going on? He says, I heard about a man named Muhammad, and I came to meet him and I came to see him. Sallallahu Ali radiallahu ta'ala says, okay, I can take you to him. But listen, people are watching. If you join our team, you'll get cancelled. He says, okay, what do I do? He says, how do I come? He said, if you don't follow me too closely, I'm going to keep on walking ahead of you. And every time I want a turn to happen, I'm going to bend down and I'm going to start acting like I am fixing my shoelace. And in this way, you know that, okay, it's time to move right, time to move left, wherever you have to go. We'll play it like this. Okay. He comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he meets the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then he accepts Islam. After he accepts Islam, he goes in the middle of the Kaaba, in front of the Haram, and he exclaims, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And everyone in Quraysh gets up and starts beating him until he's black and blue and he's bleeding. And somebody comes and stops and says, do you know who this guy is? He's part of Banu Ghafar. If you kill him, all those people, our routes and our caravans go down their route. All those people, our businesses, everything will be jeopardized. So they let him go. Abu Dharr al-Ghifārī the next day comes back in the Kaaba, stands up and says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Everyone pounds on him again, beats him up until his face became flat. And they attack him, and they kick him, and they hit him, and they bruise him. Someone comes again, they say, no, this guy is Banu Ghafar. Can't kill him. He's got a lot of friends, he knows a lot of people. Let him go. Third day, the same thing happens. Afterwards, Rasulullah like, listen, just calm down a little bit. Don't start proclaiming. Go back to your people and give them da'wah. He also becomes a Sahabi that is very ascetic. in the sense that he became like, you know, there's some people that when they come close to Islam, they become very extreme. That's what happened to him. He became one of those extreme Muslims, to the point that let me break this down now. I'll tell you a few things about him to give you his mentality. He's one of the interesting Sahabah. One day, him and Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu get into an argument. And he looks at Bilal and he says, Yabna Imrat al-Sawda, you are the son of a black woman. Derogatory term. The moment he says this, the Prophet ﷺ is walking by, and the Prophet ﷺ hears this. And the Prophet ﷺ says, Innaka imri'un fika al-jahiliya. You are a person who has jahiliya, ignorance inside you. When he heard the Prophet ﷺ make this remark, he immediately went to the feet of Bilal radiallahu anhu and said, forgive me, put your foot on my neck. He said, humiliate me, disgrace me, because I have said something that the Prophet said, you still have jahiliyyah, ignorance inside you. And then Rasulullah ﷺ makes a comment and says, they had slaves in those days. So he says, whatever you eat, make your slaves eat from the same food. Whatever clothes you put on, clothe them in a similar manner. So he goes to the extreme. So back in the day, you know, now people have a different top and a different bottom. Back in the day, the suit was one. And the top and the bottom, they would match. And that's like basically one outfit. It's like how a suit is. If you wore two different colors, it would seem like you're kind of off. Bilal radiallahu ta'ala, what he would do is that he would wear, if he has one outfit, he would split his two outfits. He would take half an outfit and give it to his slave, and he would take, if for example there's a red shirt and a red bottom, and a green shirt and a green bottom, he would take the red shirt, wear the green bottom, and he would do the same thing with the slave. So basically he would do 50-50, half and half. He would go very extreme. Okay, another thing about him, when he would be in Madinatul Munawwara, if he saw anyone hoard extra money, he would beat them with a stick. And one time the Prophet ﷺ, in his own life, the Prophet ﷺ said that, Bilal, you're going to live alone, you're going to die alone, and you are going to be raised alone. And the Prophet ﷺ also said, but a group of believers of mine will come and read janazah on you. So in the time of Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, his extremism was very difficult for people to handle. Again, he's walking around Medina whooping people if they had an extra pair of clothes, extra shoes. If he came to ISRA, we'd all get whooped by Bilal radiallahu anhu, Abu Ḍarr radiallahu anhu. Literally, he carried a stick around. And this got too high, this became too extreme for Sahabah. So Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī radiallahu ta'ala anhu says that Umar radiallahu anhu tells Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī radiallahu anhu, he said, Abu Ḍarr, sorry to say this, but I'm gonna have to ask you to live and be somewhere else. It's difficult for you to be around people. Okay. So he sends him to Rabada. Rabada's about an hour and a half from Medina. I've been to this place. The middle of nowhere. Absolutely, it's insane. So he starts living there, him and his wife. And there's nobody around them at all. Time comes, he gets sick. And he's on his deathbed. When he's on his deathbed, he says to his wife, I don't think I'll see tomorrow. Start cooking some food and make a good amount of it. She said, what are you talking about? He said, my time of death is coming. She said, we're in the middle of nowhere. He said, we will soon have guests. At the same time, Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu is with a group of Sahabah and Tabi'in, and they're traveling. and they're going close to Ramadan. He said, you know, my friend Abu Ḍarr lives here. Let's stop by and say salam to him. So they go to say salam to Abu Ḍarr, and his wife is there, so she serves them food. They said, okay, we want to meet Abu Ḍarr. They said, Abu Ḍarr had just passed away. So he said, how did you know you were going to come? He said, the Prophet ﷺ prophesied that Abu Ḍarr would live alone, die alone, be raised alone, but a group of Sahabah, a jama'at of people will pray his Salatul Janazah. And therefore he prophesied, and he said this, and we knew that this group of people would come. So the Janazah was prayed, and Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī radiallahu anhu was buried in Ramadan. Anyway, incredible companion, Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī. Maulana Manazir Hasan Gilani has a book written on the life of Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī. It's in Urdu. His first advice, أَنَّ رَجُلًا شَتَمَهُ فَقَالَ لَهُ أَبُو ذَرٍ. A man swore Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī radiallahu anhu. He cursed Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī radiallahu anhu. He said, يَا هَذَا لَا تُغْرِقَنَّ فِي شَتَمِنَا. He said, if you want to hate on me, these are companions. So you want to be a hater, and you don't like me, don't drown yourself in my hatred. Not to live. Like, there's love. You can not like someone, it's okay, but don't be obsessed in not liking someone. Like, that's all you talk about, just how much you hate that person. Not to live. Don't be obsessed. وَدَعْ لِلصُّلْحِ مَوْضِعًا. Leave some room for us to make amends. You want to get in a fight, you want to get in an argument with someone? Okay. But don't burn the bridge so much that there's no room for rectification. دَعْ لِلصُّلْحِ مَوْضِعًا. Leave some space there so that we can rectify, we can fix things, we can patch things up. فَإِنَّا لَا نُكَافِئْ مَنْ عَصَى اللَّهَ فِينَا بِأَكْثَرِ مِنْ أَنْ نُطِيعَ اللَّهَ فِيهِمْ. For we, وَفَإِنَّا لَا نُكَافِئْ. It is not for us to equate someone who disobeys Allah in us that we don't obey Allah in it. So for example, someone is doing bad to you, someone is harming you, someone is swearing you, someone is cursing you, they're disobeying Allah. The disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not supposed to be coupled with you also disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If someone is doing wrong, do right. To equate and to overpower the wrong that's been done. Two wrongs don't make a right. I know two negatives. In another narration he said, ذُو الدِّرْهَمَيْنِ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَشَدُّ حِسَابًا مِنْ ذِي الدِّرْهَمِ. That the one who has 2 dirhams on the day of judgment, or 2 or more money, will have a more aggressive hisab or a more aggressive accounting than the one who has 1 dirham. The more wealth you have, the more accountability you have. The more dunya you have, the more Allah will ask you on the day of judgment. It's okay to make money. Because they say that maldar banna ghalat nahi hai. To be wealthy is not wrong. Dunyadar banna ghalat hai. But to be a person that's worldly, that just cares about the dunya, that is what's wrong. Maldar banna ghalat nahi hai. Dunyadar banna ghalat hai. The problem isn't in just having wealth, but being a man who's just engrossed and just cares and just focuses about the dunya. On the day of judgment, there are 4 questions that will be asked for us. And one of them is, وَعَنْ مَالِهِ مِنْ أَيْنَ اكْتَسَبَ وَفِيمَا أَنْفَقَ. That your wealth, where did you earn it and how did you spend it? He has a long advice, but before I do this, I'm going to give one of his short advice, inshallah. Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī radiallahu ta'ala anhu says, وَدِدْتُ أَنِّي كُنْتُ شَجَرَةً أُعْضَدُ وَوَدِدْتُ أَنِّي لَمْ أُخْلَقْ. I wish I was a tree that would be uprooted, or I wish I never lived. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala anhu heard a man say the Quranic verse, هَلْ أَتَى عَلَى الْإِنسَانِ حِينٌ مِنَ الدَّهْرِ لَمْ يَكُنْ شَيْئًا مَذْكُورًا. A time has come upon people, or indeed a time has come upon people, that when they were something that were insignificant, something that wouldn't even be mentioned, or just a drop of sperm. And Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, Umar bin al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, from the different Sahabah, it comes that they would say that وَدِدْتُ أَنِّي لَمْ أُخْلَقْ. I wish I was never created. These are great giants of Sahaba. But they were so scared to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the difference between the adab of the Sahaba and us. That's the bottom line. If you really want to know why we are in the generation we are, and they were in the generation they are, is the adab that they had. Today the barakah of knowledge is gone, and the barakah of amal is gone, is because adab is gone. They were accepted, and Allah blessed them, and Allah gave to them, because they carried and they held with them adab for Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What I am saying or what I am reading is kalam of Allah. It is words of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu la tarfa'u. Allah says in the Quran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu la tarfa'u aswatakum fawqa sawti an-nabi wa la tajharu lahu bil qawli ka jahri ba'dikum li ba'din an tahbata a'malukum wa antum la tash'urun. That all you who believe, don't even raise your voice in front of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The scholars write that when hadith is being recited, don't raise your voice. Quran is being recited, Allah says, وَإِذَا قُرِئَ الْقُرْآنِ فَاسْتَمِعُوا لَهُ وَأَنصِتُوا. Pay attention, listen, give your undivided attention. If not, what happens? أَن تَحْبَطَ أَعْمَالُكُمْ. Your deeds, all the good you do in life, Allah will wipe it clean. وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ. And you won't even know that you became bankrupt. وَمَنْ يُعَذِّمْ شَعَائِرَ اللَّهِ فَإِنَّهَا مِنْ تَقْوَى الْقُلُوبِ. The one who has adab of the things that remind him of Allah, that is a sign of taqwa. And if a person doesn't do this, then the opposing is, it's a sign of absence of taqwa. Adab is a fundamental point. It's a fundamental point. Ad-deenu kulluhu adab. This deen in its entirety is a simple lesson of adab. And if you don't garner adab, and you don't have that element of it, then there's no fayda. Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi would say that ta'allamna al-adab qabla an ta'allamna ad-deen. We first learned adab, then we went and we learned deen. We didn't learn knowledge first, we first learned how to seek knowledge. We learned the adab of it, the etiquettes of it. And then Allah gave them barakah and blessed them in it. Each student from his teacher learned adab all the way from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Abu Ḍarr al-Ghifārī radiyallahu ta'ala anhu says, أنه قام يوما عند الكعبة. One day he stood by the Kaaba and he said, يا أيها الناس, O people, أنا جندب al-Ghifārī. My name is Jundab from the tribe of Ghafar. هلموا إلى الأخ الناصح الشفيق فاكتنفه الناس. He said, come towards your brother who advises you and who cares for you and is compassionate towards you, shafaqah for you. When he says this, again, everybody pounced him. Abu Ḍarr used to get whooped a lot. Yeah. So he says, أَرَأَيْتُمْ لَوْ أَنَّ أَحَدَكُمْ أَرَادَ سَفَرًا. He gives 8 advices. He says, imagine one of you is going on a road trip. It's a long road trip. From sea to shining sea. أَلَيْسَ يَتَّخِذُ مِنَ الزَّادِ مَا يُصْلِحُهُ وَيُبَلِّغُهُ. Aren't you going to take some munchies with you? Full tank? Are you going to make a trip from sea to shining sea without your credit card? Without snacks in the back? Without a pillow and a blanket? Trip's a long trip. He says, فَالسَّفَرُ طَرِيقِ الْقِيَامَةِ أَبْعَدُ. The road to the day of judgment is longer. مَا تُرِيدُونَ. Than what you can travel. فَخُذُوا مِنْهُ مَا يُصْلِحُكُمْ. Start packing for that trip what will make that trip easy? قَالُوا وَمَا يُصْلِحُنَا. So they said, what's going to make this trip comfortable for us or easy for us? He said, حُجُّوا حَجَّةً لِعِظَامِ الْأُمُورِ. Do Hajj for great things. Meaning that if you want to accomplish something great, you have big needs, go for Hajj and do dua in Hajj. We had one of our students in Umrah. His mother said that I didn't have children for 10 years or more. And then I went for Umrah or Hajj. I think it was Hajj. And I made dua there. And right after, Allah blessed me with a child. The du'as of the Kaaba, they don't go unheard. Unless Allah doesn't want to listen to you. May Allah protect us from that. صُومُوا يَوْمًا شَدِيدًا حَرُّهُ لِطُولِ النُّشُورِ. Fast for a day where it's hard to fast. Winter fasts are all easy fasts, but fast when it's difficult to fast, so that the effect of the fast lasts longer. صَلُّوا رَكَعْتَيْنِ فِي سَوَادِ اللَّيْلِ لِوَحْشَةِ الْقُبُورِ. Pray 2 rakats in the darkness of the night, so that Allah can give you light in your grave. I heard about your brother getting up, one of our HIF students. He's like, I don't know if you know this or not, he's 12 years old. He gets up and he reads Quran by himself. He wakes up. His teacher told him one time that it's good for you in the morning. So today I asked if your parents came in the morning. I said, does he pray tahajjud? He said, oh, that's a good idea.
He said he memorizes the verse at that time, that it's like super easy for him.
Yes, Rasulullah said, Allah has put barakah in my ummah in its early hours. And that time is really blessed for the student, especially who's trying to memorize and learn. So I called him in today, and he also he memorizes more than any of the other kids. He's a smart little kid. He yaps all the time, but he's smart. I told him to say G meaning yes, and he was like, what? And I was like, he's like, but I don't do this, and I don't even speak Urdu at home. I was like, I don't care, you're gonna say G for me. But anyway, tahajjud, I told the kid the same thing. I was telling the parents today, I told his parents, I said that if your son gains nothing, is that he gets the habit of praying 2 rakat tahajjud in the morning and doing dua. I said, then you can sleep at night peacefully knowing that your kid is connected to Allah. If this habit becomes part and parcel of him, then know you as a parent have succeeded in your child, no matter what he does now. Because he's talking to Allah in the best time. Most of us are up at that time. We're just not talking to Allah, we're talking to somebody else. Point is to talk to Allah a little bit. Talk to the Creator a little bit. Make things easier. As my friend says, qatratain. What is it? Rak'atain wa qatratain. 2 plus 2. 2 rakats and 2 teardrops. It's a solution for any problem. So pray at nighttime, for the grave is really dark. كلمة خير تقولها أو كلمة سوء تسكت عنها لوقوف يوم عظيم. There's 2 things. A good word that you may say, or a bad thing that you stay quiet about, that you don't comment about. Because one day you have to stand on a really difficult day. And every word, مَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. Nothing comes out, but it's documented. There's screenshots, there's notes. The angels write and document it. تَصَدَّقْ بِمَالِكَ لَعَلَّكَ تَنْجُو مِنْ عَسِيرِهَا. Give charity from your wealth so that you may save tanju, you may be safe from the difficulties of the dunya. Someone was telling me the other day, I thought it was really beautiful. They said, anytime I spoil myself and buy something expensive, I give that exact amount of money in charity. So if I buy a $300, I don't know, shoe, then I give $300 in sadaqah. if I can spend that much on me, I can spend that much on charity. اجعل الدنيا مجلسين. Make the dunya two types. Make the dunya for you, the days of the dunya, two types of days. Or make your moments two moments. مجلسا في طلب الآخرة. A moment where you are seeking the hereafter. ومجلسا في طلب الحلال. Or a moment where you're seeking halal. والثالث, don't make a third moment. يضرك, it will harm you. ولا ينفعك, it won't benefit you. لا تريده, don't desire it. اجعل المال درهمين. Make your money $2. درهما تنفقه على عيالك من حله. $1 you spend on your family. ودرهما تقدمه لآخرتك. And $1 you put forward for the hereafter. So every money, all the wealth you have, $2. Right? $1 for the akhirah, $1 for your family, for yourself. وَالثَّالِث يَضُرُّكَ وَلَا يَنْفَعُكَ. The third option is going to harm you and not benefit you. لا تريد. Don't seek it. ثُمَّ نَادَى بِأَعْلَى صَوْتِهِ. Then he said with a loud voice, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ, O people, قَدْ قَتَلَكُمْ حِرْصٌ لَا تُدْرِكُونَهُ أَبَدًا. You know what's destroyed humanity? Greed. For attaining something you will never attain. The greed to attain something you will never attain will end up destroying you. You can never be the wealthiest person in the world. You can never be the smartest person in the world. You can never be the strongest person in the world. قَدْ قَتَلَكُمْ حِرْصٌ لَا تُدْرِكُونَهُ أَبَدًا. Greed will destroy you. People sit there focused, and that's all they care about, the desire of more and wanting more and more and more. And you can't have it all. Don't destroy yourself in the unattainable. Focus on the hereafter. We'll finish off with one ayah. Allah says in the Quran, وَبَتَغِ فِي مَا آتَاكَ اللَّهُ الدَّارَ الْآخِرَةِ. Seek what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you for the hereafter. وَلَا تَنْسَ نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. Don't forget about your portion in the dunya. وَأَحْسِنْ. And be gracious and good. كَمَا أَحْسَنَ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكَ. The way Allah has been good to you. وَلَا تَبْغِي الْفَسَادَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Don't do fasad and fitna on earth. Don't be the person who does corruption on earth. Any questions?